Hello, everybody. It's Cynthia Gentle live from, a location in Edinburgh. It's Black History Month, and we are still going on and on talking about our history and celebrating our unsung heroes in our community. Today, I have with me Florence Menzies. Now, we all call Florence Auntie. Of course, she's not biologically our auntie, but in African culture, any older woman we call auntie. So, Auntie Florence, can you help people understand? Tell us a bit about who you are and where you are from.
Well, my name is Florence Barasa Menzies, and I originated from Kenya more than 40 years ago. So you could say I'm a Scottish native now.
Tell me a bit about how you came to Scotland, why you came to Scotland.
Right, that's a long story. When I was finishing my high school, a woman came from Uganda, and she said she was a missionary from the Grail movement. And she was making school girls who were about to finish their higher education aware of their movement and the benefits they could get, if they joined them. So the movement was called the Grail movement. And I thought, well, that's good. It was a lay community, a religious lay community that did a lot of their work on social work, hospital work, in the community, looking after the mothers and the babies, that kind of situation. So I thought this was just perfect for me because I always dreamt of being a nurse. The only problem is that they were in Uganda, and I would have to, move over to Uganda to train. And I did go. I sat an interview. I passed. And then they turned around and told me, you cannot be admitted because you are a foreigner. Oh. You are a Kenyan, so we can't have you. We can't train you. And so I was left, of course, devastated. And the women that had kind of recruited me thought that if I went back to Kenya, I would lose the interest in the movement, and I would not join them. And they had a very strong community in Scotland, in Edinburgh. So they decided the next best thing to do was to send me to Scotland. Of course, I was happy, going on the plane was such a thing I had never dreamt about. So I was so excited, and I accepted. Unfortunately, my parents also agreed. So there we are. That's how I came to Scotland.
Awesome. Yeah, that's going back many, many years. So can you help myself and everybody else watching understand what was it like as an African coming to Scotland way back then? Were there a lot of Africans? Was Scotland what you imagined it to be?
Not really. In Kenya, or indeed in Uganda, where I went before I came to Scotland, there were not many Europeans. In my little village, I had never been in the city before. I was brought up and educated in the rural area. And the only close white person I knew was our local priest. So I never imagined really what Scotland would be like. I had never been in a kind of place where there are many Europeans or more Africans to compare the ratios. So I was just excited to come here. And when I arrived, the first mistake I made was to go on the escalator, to go down with with my suitcase. And of course, I didn't know how to do it.
Oh,
so the next thing I knew, I was rolling down the escalator with my suitcase ahead of me and landed flat at the bottom of it. And the first shock I had was that the people who came to help me were what we used to call at home Wazungus. And to be touched by a Mzungu, I looked at my hand and thought, I don't think I'll wash it because I've been touched by a white person. And I thought that color would stick. So that was the first shock. When I got to Edinburgh, of course, everything was ready for me. The ladies were expecting me. And so I was literally like from home to a foreign home. I was really, really scared. and I was so green, never having lived with white people before. I didn't know what to expect, or I didn't know what they wanted me to do, what they expected of me.
Yeah.
So I lived in fear somehow of how am I going to integrate into this society.
Yeah.
But the lady that I called Andy from that time onwards, she had never been to Africa before, but she had a natural gift of liking people.
Yeah.
And before me, a lot of Ugandan students had been through her because she was a teacher, and they used to come and stay at her house sometime. So she knew of Africans,
Right.
but I didn't know about the white people. So with some of these students coming to visit and her knowledge about us,
Yeah.
she was so sympathetic.
Yeah.
And she really helped me to settle in.
That's really interesting. You've just reminded me of a time long ago when I was a child, and my grandmother had come to the city, and she met our white neighbor, and our neighbor gave her a hug, and my grandmother wanted to tell everybody about this because she had never been that close to a white person. Yeah, and then so many years later, you are now used to Scotland and the ways of being in Scotland. Tell us a bit about your parenting journey, like your husband, your children. Did you bring up your children always in Scotland? Do they speak any other languages? Tell us a bit about that.
As we speak, I've said I've been here nearly 40 years. And that's only because my husband is Scottish. And when I finished my training as a nurse, I went home to Kenya to work as a nurse. But I had met him here before. And so when I went to, and then lost contact. So when I returned home and went to Nairobi, I was so surprised to see him in Nairobi. And I thought, wow, it can't be the same person. Because when I saw him here, he was so pale and horrible white, And the next time I saw him in Nairobi, I thought, wow, he's quite handsome. He's brown, he's bronzed. Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah.
And then because now the roles had changed.
Yeah.
I was now the guest in Kenya, and he was the local, the host. So he knew everything about Kenya. He knew everything about Nairobi, where to go, where to stay, and the rest of it.
Wow.
So he sort of showed me around in Kenya. And as we got used to that, of course, the love came in between. And we fell in love and got married in 1975. Probably you were not born then.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't even thought of at that time.
Oh, my goodness me. Yeah, but before all that and the rest of it, when I first arrived, Scotland is not what it is now. Completely different. And my Scottish friends in my class, when they took us to their homes, there wasn't all this luxurious way of life, washing machines, electric cookers, central heating, and the rest of it. There was nothing like that.
Wow.
Those who are well off could afford it, but the majority of my classmates, were, you could say, poor people. But of course, with us there, we were poorer than they were.
Yeah.
But I remember one of my best friends, her flat was somewhere near Princess Street at the back, at the top. And when she took us home, we were so surprised that they wash clothes in the kitchen sink. Honest, that's how bad things were.
Wow.
The toilet was literally next door to the kitchen. And, there wasn't all this luxury of living room and bedrooms and the rest of it. They were just like we are now in the rural areas in Africa. Or even some of the city accommodation is more or less the same as it was when I arrived here. All this luxury and way of living has just exploded. Late 70s, 80s, and 90s, everything went, and everybody's now living the same. Comforts, and comforts mean electricity, gas, and running water. If you have those three, you are fine.
I'm really interested in early life in Scotland, and I know you are part of a group. It's the
African Caribbean elders in Scotland.
Elders in Scotland. So that's really exciting to know that you guys are connecting. And the most exciting thing that I want to share with everybody is that they've actually got a book written and it's on sale. We're going to post the link. I would like everybody to buy the book, read and understand what life in Scotland was like in those early days. These are our elders. There's so much oral history. It's so interesting to learn about their early experiences. You know, Florence has just said when she came to Scotland, really there was no difference between the housing and here and in Africa. You know, it's only recently that everything has become so luxurious. So, you know, buy the book. The link is down below. Buy the book. Support the work that they're doing. And if you are somebody who is an elder from the African or Caribbean community, then we're going to link you up as well with the group. Get to know them. They have Zoom meetings every fortnight because of the times that we are in. They have Zoom meetings, and it would be good for everybody to feel connected to the work that they're doing. So I'll ask you one last question, and tell me about just a bit about your children and mothering children here, or is it, well, yeah, tell me about that.
Well, once we got married, we came back to Scotland because my husband had been to Kenya, to Tanzania for 2 years. Then he went to Kenya for another 4 years doing vaccines for vet labs in Nairobi. And so when we came here as a married couple, and there were children being spoken about, he decided that if we ever had children, I wouldn't work. Because he was so impressed with the life in Kenya and Tanzania, I'd say Africa, that he really wanted his children to be brought up the African way.
Yeah.
And so when we had our 3 children, 3 daughters, I never worked. He worked, I didn't work. And we only started working when we went back to Kenya for a period of time, which was about 12 years. And during that time, our children were really, the youngest was only 2, and there were 2, 3, and 5. So they were very young. That was their formative years. And they were in Africa during that time. For the 12 years we were there, they were brought up in Africa. So they spoke the language, which is easy, you know, when you are in the community. They speak Swahili and they speak fluent English, of course. And their first education, primary education, was also in Africa. And my husband wanted to bring them back here for higher education. But the formative years, the way of life, the food, they eat African food as well as they eat Scottish food. So there's no difference. They can cook both dishes and enjoy them both. So they are happy because they have got the best of 2 worlds. And the first years of their lives were in Africa, and they never forget it. And I think what has made them, you know, one of them is Mara, and Mara is internationally renowned storyteller. And she will tell you that she learned all that from her grandmother, my mother.
Wow.
And so it really grounded home for them. It wasn't forceful, they loved it, and they crave many a time. When I go home, Mom, can we come with you? I said, well, now you're grown-ups. You can make your own ways there. This is my time, you know. But it was really, really good. But the reason he refused to let me go to work when the children were young was just that he didn't want them to lose what they had learned from Kenya. She wanted them, you know, to continue. And obviously I was there. Although I, of course, refused at first, but then I thought, he has a point. And the kids are happy for it.
That's really awesome to hear Florence talking about her journey as a mother, raising children in Africa and here in Scotland. You know, it's Parenting Week this week, so there's more information about the challenges, the experiences. We've got parenting coaches. We've got stories from other mothers who have raised children here and in Africa, stories from people who are raising children here who are of mixed heritage. So it's really interesting to hear all these things and to understand what life was like, and understand as well what opportunities we have as parents to create a new culture for our children, for our Black Scottish children, and ensure that their future is rich as we recall our childhoods to be in Africa or wherever we have come from. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to post the link for the African and Caribbean elders.
Well, that's our book, but the book is from Africa, Caribbean, Aqua is sickle cell.
Okay. All right. So there's two different groups, and we're going to post the links down here for you to know which group does what. There's a book link, and also there's a link for getting to meet other elder people of African and Caribbean origin here in Scotland. So follow the links. Please let anyone you know who needs this information have it. Share the link and enjoy Black History Month. Thank you.